Hey everybody, Jason here with J. Scott Property Management. Today we're going to do a video on the top tips to find the best property management company. So first let me preface this by saying that that's really a relative term. Depending on your needs, your wants, the things you're looking for is going to kind of help determine the type of property management company that is going to best fit your needs. There's a lot of different management companies out there, and again, we all have different strengths and weaknesses, different advantages, competitive advantages, and really being able to understand what you want out of the relationship is going to go a long way in terms of making sure that there's a right fit there. So having said that, I would say the first tip would be to understand the role of a property management company. Know what they are about, just in general. Understand that, because what I find a lot of times is that certain property owners really have an idea in their head about what a property management company does and doesn't do and how they want to utilize it. Some clients or potential clients that I've talked with in the past really have kind of more in mind of them calling the shots on a day-to-day basis and just using the property management company almost like an employee. Like, okay, I want this to happen, go do this, go do that. And they really want to stay in control and in the weeds of things. And I think what a lot of property owners that are not familiar with management companies don't understand, and sometimes it becomes a point of contention because they go in with one set of expectations and it turns out that the reality is a little bit different. But I think what they want to do is call the shots. They want to still maintain control over everything, and that's not really what a property management company is designed to do. A property management company is designed to be a machine that produces a specific result. So they take your property, they put it through their processes and their strategic way, their approach of managing property. And at the end of that, when it comes out the other side, they are going to hopefully be able to provide a consistent result for you. Now, they can't do that if a property owner is like continually knocking them off of their path because the property management or the property owner wants to do it a different way. So I guess that's kind of a long way of saying is understand what a property management company actually does in their role in terms of that, and make sure you're okay with it. If you're not okay with it, if you need to maintain that type of control, then it may not be a good fit for you. Number two, researching potential property management companies. So this is a good one. There's a lot of, especially in the greater Phoenix metro area, there are a lot of property management companies, and there's a lot to choose from. So make sure that you do your research. Look for referrals. Jump on some Facebook groups, do some Google research. But really what you're looking to do here is find companies that align with what you're looking for. So one good way to start doing this is referrals. If you ask the questions, potentially in Facebook groups or people that you know, look for referrals for companies. I would recommend interviewing at least 3 property management companies. Have a list of questions. Some of the things to look out for on that initial contact to them is a responsiveness. How quick are they getting back to you? If it takes them 2 weeks to get back with you on a potential new relationship, well, that can mean a lot of things. That may mean they're extremely busy. It may be that they're not really interested in taking on a bunch of new clients, whatever it is. But that is something that you should be considered, because the way that they respond to you at the onset of the relationship is probably how it's going to continue going. Reviews. Take a look at the reviews. Now, reviews are such a mixed bag because property management companies in general, their job is tough, and a lot of times it involves saying no to people. And when people get told no, clients and residents, that doesn't make them very happy. I mean, I don't like being told no either. And so a lot of times that comes through in the guise of a review. But what you're really looking for in the reviews is trends. So if you are going through there and it's obvious if a tenant is leaving bad reviews, sometimes it's pretty easy to read through the lines that that person's getting evicted and the management company is doing what they're supposed to do. But if you're seeing things like not responding, communication, can't get maintenance taken care of, and there's over and over and over and over. Well, those are trends that you're going to want to pay attention to, some patterns. Find those companies, look at those reviews, put them in context. Another great place to do some research on is Reddit. I find that the folks on Reddit, they're a lot more upfront, or I don't want to say upfront. They don't pull any punches. They're going to tell you what they think, and that's what that Reddit platform is really about. So, in terms of that, I think it's also another good place to do the research. I would also say if you get the opportunity, whether it's a phone or in person, obviously you want to have a talk with them, but if you can meet them in person, even better. What you're looking for too is kind of that relationship, that gut instinct, that chemistry, how you guys are going to work together, how do they make you feel in that conversation? Are they giving you vibes of BSing you? Whatever that is, because I do think that with all the other empirical information that you gather out of your research, that gut feel in that relationship is very important, because you're going to be working with these folks and they are going to be managing a very important piece of your financial future. So do your research. Within that research, of course, another point here is to evaluate the services they actually offer. There's a standard set of services that all management companies offer. We're going to market your home. We're going to screen applicants. We're going to move them in. We're going to collect rent. We're going to do lease renewals and maintenance and all those things. But really find out kind of more details about that. So when do you get your money? How long does it typically take for them to rent a home? Average days on market. What is their collection process like? Dig in just a little bit deeper and make sure that you understand what they're going to actually provide. Because again, you don't want to assume companies may do things a little different. If one company may have an early disbursement of owner funds, another may not. And if you're expecting to get your funds on the 10th of every month, and that company only sends them out on the 25th or the 30th or the 10th of the following month, well, that's going to be a point to where that's something you're going to want to know, and that's going to be a point of contention. That isn't necessarily anybody's fault. It just wasn't communicated, and you were not aligned and didn't understand what the services you were actually going to be getting. So make sure to evaluate and understand the services they provide. Let's see here. Consider the reputation in the experience of the management company. So again, this goes back to aligning with what you need. So there are advantages and disadvantages to larger property management companies and smaller property management companies. Some of that reputation is going to be back in the research, going to be in reviews, going to be some of that stuff. But in terms of the experience, how many properties do they manage? How long have they been doing it? Do they sell property along with renting property? Do they have a separate division for that? All of those things matter. And in terms of aligning with what you need, does that, if you're talking to a larger management company, what are the communication points? How much personal service is actually going to be there? In terms of your communication, the information you get, where does that come from? Is it all email? Is it all through the portal? Are you going to be able to get a hold of a live person? How long does it take a live person to get back with you? What is their structure like? Who are you going to be dealing with? Do you have a dedicated property manager? Are you going to be dealing with customer service rep? Are you going to be dealing directly with the owner? All of those things matter in context of what you need. If you are someone that's needing a more personal service, I'll say quicker personal response on things, then perhaps a smaller company may be a better fit. If you're looking for someone that has a lot more access to we'll just say bigger resources, because smaller management companies these days, they have access to a lot of the same resources. But there is something to be said for larger management companies and the amount of traffic that's coming through for all the different properties. So there may be some advantages there that the smaller management companies do not have. Perhaps that leads to them leasing it quicker, things like that. But ask these questions. How long you've been doing this? Do you personally manage the properties anymore? What's your team look like? How many maintenance techs do you have? How long if I have a dedicated property manager, how long have they been with the company? What's your turnover like? All those things are going to matter, because again, when they do have turnover, or when you are dealing with these things, it's going to affect you. And if that doesn't bother you, okay, not a big deal. If you like to deal with consistency and more of the kind of one-on-one personal relationship type deal, again, is it there? Is it not? Make sure you know what that is. Finalizing a contract with a property management company, I always recommend that you get a copy of the management agreement for a lot of different reasons. One, you do want to read through it. Of course, obviously, I understand how what a dry, boring read that is. But there's a lot of really excellent information above and beyond the legalese. There's going to be some legalese stuff in there, but some of the things I look for is how long is the contract, what is the termination provision for that contract? If you need to get out of that contract, is there a buyout? What does that look like? What are the fees? A lot of times the fees associated with the property management agreement or with the company, their fees are going to be listed in a contract. And by doing that, I guess what it does is it allows you to kind of get around the sales pitch side of things and get a full picture of all of the fees that you may be facing. Because again, there's nothing worse than getting your month-end statement and seeing, $50 admin fee or whatever, and you had no idea it was in there. Reviewing your management contract will outline all that stuff for you. So make sure to read through that. If you have any questions, make sure to get clarification. If it's super important, and if it's super important and you're talking to the person and say, yeah, it's not really like that, this is how we really use it. Okay, awesome. Get it in writing, and just make sure that you are comfortable signing that contract, especially if it's a long-term without a buyout, because if you're unhappy and you have no other options, you can be stuck with that for typically 12 months. So absolutely make sure you understand your management contract, and then communicate effectively with your chosen property management company. So one, understand what they do, but two, communicate what your expectations are. Let them know this is what you need. If you need, for example, if you need your rents by the 10th of each month because you have a mortgage and you really don't want to float that, communicate that to them. Communicate that if your expectation is to approve all rental applications, communicate that to them. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they can do that, but what it does do is lets them know that this is what you need, and if they're not a good fit for you, and vice versa, then you guys can take care of that on the front end, and you continue your research and find a property management company that can take care of those needs for you. So those are some tips then for to find the best property management company. And again, relative. This is something that is a very personal decision, and each person's going to be a little different. Not all property management companies are going to fit everybody's needs, but again, a lot of really great companies out there to choose from. Just make sure to do your research, make sure to have those talks, make sure to have that communication, make sure to understand what you're getting into, because this is an important agreement, it is an important relationship, and likely it's going to last for at least 12 months, and you want to make sure you know what you're getting into. So thank you once again for watching. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, make sure to shoot me an email, give me a call, leave a comment wherever you're watching this at. And this is Jason with J. Scott Property Management, and we will see you next time.